Hey, my name is ShawNshawN. I sell art on ShawNshawN.co. Today we're going to review No Time to Die. So this is a film by Cary Joji Fukanaga. I think it's maybe the first Japanese director for a James Bond film. The time is 2 hours 43 minutes. It's way freaking long. I mean, there's a lot of action, so it kind of passes by, but I was just dying. I actually had to leave at the very final scene. I saw most of it, like 99% of it, but I really didn't see up to the credits, so it's kind of like they could have changed it up at the end. I don't know. So I don't know if I really saw the end of the film in a way. But so that was super kind of annoying. You have Daniel Craig plays James Bond again, and Armas plays Paloma. Rami Malek plays Lyutsifer Safin, kind of a cheap, easy to figure out take on Lucifer Stalin, right? Lea Seydeaux plays Madeleine. Ralph Fiennes plays M. So the story is Bond's like in retirement with the love of his life. A hit's put out on Bond. He kind of figures out the girl is somehow connected, so he breaks off all connections with her because he doesn't feel it's safe for them to be dating. They don't really know why they're under attack or anything. 5 years later, there's this mysterious drug that's being developed by MI6, and it gets loose. It gets captured by this Spectre, villain behind the scenes, and they're trying to find out where the virus is going, how they're going to use the virus, if they're going to use it on a small group of people, or who they're going to attack. And it turns out to be worse than they thought as the story goes along. So one of the things in the end, it turns out the villain is going to try to infect the whole world with this virus, which doesn't really make sense because it would seem usually there's kind of a certain selected group. Even Stalin had selected groups he wanted to kill. He wanted to keep the whole population in fear but not kill everyone. So someone to plan out the whole death of the whole planet kind of doesn't make sense. It should have been kind of maybe certain groups, like maybe all of MI6 and all of CIA, maybe all the killers related to his father and mother and his whole family death. I think that would have made way more sense. Like if he had gone after all the secret agencies, that would have made more sense. But going after the whole world doesn't make any sense. There's no villain that would be that devious that would just kill everyone on the whole planet. It's just like there's no point to life at that point. So I think they overshot it in that sense on the final scene. It just would have made more sense if they went after all of MI6, and it just makes more sense, and it makes the plot tighter because then you're like, oh my god, all the MI6 and CIA, they have to cooperate, right? Or the Russian spies and the Japanese spies or Chinese spies, what have you. It kind of makes more sense. It kind of comes to cohesively together. But to hit the whole world just doesn't make sense, I think, as a villain. You got the great costumes and sets, the villain, so that's really fun. Iconic Bond look with the barrel scene where he's actually shooting the pistol down the barrel. They actually shoot that scene, so that's kind of fun because it's subtle. It's not super direct, but it's nice that they include it. It's just too long. I mean, I liked the story. It kind of twists and turns over different locations like a typical Bond film, but I mean, really, can't you cut it down to 2 hours and 10 maybe? 2 hours 43 is like, I think they could have cut some scenes out. It's very, it's so long that I had to leave the movie right at the very end, so that's just annoying because I was dying from just having a large Coke there, so it's like, definitely go this with no drink at all. Pee right before and you'll be set to go. It's a great end to this version of Bond. They've never done that before where Bond is taken out in the end. I'm kind of giving away that little spoiler there, but that was a really cool way to end it, I think, because it kind of plays up the drama of Bond and you're like, oh my god, they killed James Bond. Like, I don't think that's ever been done, so it's like super cool. It's like everything's consistent with Bond and then boom, he's dead. You're like, what the fuck is that? It's like, holy shit. So I think that was kind of a really cool way to do it. I'm surprised they didn't do that with the other Bonds. They would have been a way cooler way if they knew it was the end of that Bond. They could have finished them off and then be like, the next Bond shows up, right? Or, he rides off into the sunset, something like that, what they did with Fast and Furious. Although Fast and Furious, they made another Fast and Furious after that. You're like, dude, just let the series die at that point. They're like, no, we got to make even more money. We're going to go into space and be like jackasses. So I think James Bond has a really stiff competition, I would say, with Mission Impossible. That was developed. I don't know if it was originally developed by Tom Cruise, but he kind of took it over as a series developed along the way. And he became kind of one of the primary owners, the primary producers. And he's really just taking it to a whole nother level with the really wild stunts, like him outside the side of an airplane. You're like, dude, how are you doing that? And jumping, climbing up a cliff, and it doesn't look like there's any nets, and there's like 200, 300, 400 feet drop. So it's like, dude, this guy's insane, right? And I think in the Bond series, they've tried to match some of that, but they really can't because I don't think the actors want to go as far as Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is another level of wild, crazy stunts. Same like with Jackie Chan when he shot all his films, he did all his own stunts and was constantly breaking his legs and arms and everything, but just fantastical work from an acrobatic style. But, Tom Cruise definitely has some acting chops as well, so that was really nice to have an action hero who's really, that's his main kind of stick as far as an actor, but he has done some range, but he also has, some great stunts to go with it. Daniel Craig, I think, is a great Bond. So yeah, it's kind of interesting to see who they develop as the next Bond. Hopefully they don't go with a female Bond. So they had this really twist in the film where they add a second Bond because Bond retires supposedly in the beginning of the film. So they have another 007 and it's a black female, and you're like, now there's two 007s. It doesn't make any damn sense. Yeah, it's just dumb to have two 007s at the same time. It's just super annoying. As a fan, I think you should just have one 007 at a time. He can be retired and he comes out, and then maybe they have another 00, but it's not 007, it's 006 or 005 or 00 whatever. But just to reuse his number is just kind of tacky, I think. And it's just suggesting they're going to have a female Bond the next time. You're like, no, do not do this. It's a horrible idea. It's like, dude, you got like Wonder Woman. You got to have Wonder Woman with like Carrie Lay, like some... You're going to have like a trans Wonder Woman next, or, you're going to have Charlie's Angels with 3 guys. I mean, it's just so dumb. It's like, there's plenty of female only. You can develop your own storylines and just leave classic James Bond. It's like, what are they going to do next? Redo all the historical films where you have, queens overruling kings? I mean, that did happen a little bit, like Catherine the Great, but it's just, I don't know. They can just do their own plots and own stories, and you don't have, like they did a female Ghostbusters, it flopped, but they did it anyway, so that's fine. But why, it's just kind of like the original Ghostbuster was a classic for a reason, and now they're redoing it with kids, so you're like, they're going to do even a worse version, maybe, who knows. We'll see. Hopefully it's not as bad as the female version of it, but there's plenty of great spy movies with women in it, and they just did their own thing. There was one with Jennifer Lawrence. She had a really good one with Red Sparrow, I think. And there was another one in Berlin. I can't remember, with a dance. I don't remember, but it was really good in East Berlin. There's been some really good female spies, or you had the one where it's that guy, what was it, in the 90s with Leon, and he had a kind of a girl apprentice underneath, and that's kind of a cool combo. So there's been really cool combinations with female spies. So it's not like you have to take over the whole genre of James Bond with a female version. It's just annoying from a fan base standpoint. I don't know, it's just kind of sacrilege, I would say. They have, let's see, they bring back the classic Aston Martin, so it's kind of cool in the sense, like, Daniel Craig, who's this older James Bond, obviously about ready to retire, and he has the older 60s Aston Martin, and the newer black James Bond, she has the newer Aston Martin, so that's kind of a cool aspect. I think that was cool, but I don't think they should have gave her 007, should have called it 008, but it's fine, whatever, as long as they, hopefully in the next film, they don't have a female Bond. It'd be terrible. It'd be horrible. Ruin the whole series. Because women go to this film, too, to see, like, a male action gentleman seducer, It's like, why are you going to have a female? It's just like, it's like Hollywood just they've lost their way, I think, with pop culture. They're just really stuck in the coastal mentality, which I used to live there and I understand it, but it's just... they're like living in a dream world. You're like, dude, that's not how the rest of society works. And they think that's kind of where it is. And in the cities, that is true. So it's kind of like, who's right? But it's kind of better if they play kind of down the road in the middle, I think. Especially for a classic concept like James Bond. You have a nice touch where they're walking down kind of the walls. They're walking inside of MI16, and you see some of the older M's, like the original one from Sean Connery's era. You have Q from the last one with the Bronson era with the woman, Q, who gets killed. So that was a really cool touch, I thought, to put their memorial inside of the thing. And it also is a really nice foreshadowing of what's going to happen at the end of the film with James Bond. So that was a really nice, kind of very subtle foreshadowing. So I really like that touch. I think that was really well shot. The super spy stuff, like all the tech, it's just more or less expected. He has like a watch gizmo, and then they have like a thing that walks and maps the building for them. But it's not really, the only thing they have cool is this kind of airplane that becomes a submarine, which is kind of cool, but it's just not even close to what they do in the Fast and the Furious, or not even close to what they do on the Mission Impossible. So that they really slipped, I think, here as far as developing cool tech for the film. I mean, you did have a classic car chase scene, which is always great in a James Bond film, and they used the classic Aston Martin. So that's really cool to see that, I think. But yeah, it just seems like they could have had some other, like a boat sequence or something. And they had a little bit with like sailboats, but nothing, like no tech attached to it. That could have been cool. Like they had sailboat, and then all of a sudden it turns into a speedboat. That could have been like some kind of weird thing, because James Bond movies are always known for the tech, and so this kind of was a letdown, and the tech wasn't that exciting. It just seemed really kind of like a beginning Bond, like maybe a Bond 2 or 3 when Sean Connery was doing it, and they didn't have money for tech, and they just did a couple of special effects, and people were like, wow, they did a loop-de-loop with the car, and that was super cool. And they really didn't have tech back then, so now it's like, dude, they have so many great Bond films, especially like the Pierce Brosnan where you're driving the car with his phone. Like, that's super badass, and then you come up with this, and it's just kind of super lame. I just think it could have been way more done with cooler drone shots or something, or maybe hang glider shots, or I don't know, just something to make it look cooler. It might have been, Craig didn't want to do the stunts, or I don't know, but they could have filmed it with the stunt guy. I don't know why there wasn't such a really cool thing. Overall, it's a pretty good Bond film, I would say. Just don't drink a Coke. You're going to die in there if otherwise. Unless you're in your 20s, then it's fine. But if you're in your 50s like me, dude, do not have a Coke. You will not survive the whole film. Hope you guys like it. If you guys want to subscribe, you can subscribe below. And I'll see you on the next movie review. Thanks for watching, guys.